So today's video is going to be a coffee chat, which I haven't done for a while. I really like coffee chat video, but I'm not sure if you like this kind. I think most of my video is just me talking now. Yes? Or might maybe feel a little bit emotional right now. Right, Mama? Oh, I know. You want to talk? You okay? There probably won't be that many inserts throughout the video, so you can put me in the background while you're doing chores. I like to watch this kind of video when I'm doing dishes or driving. But I was not watching, I was just listening. So do not watching while you're driving, but you can listen to it. I know you know that. Today's topic is about how useful a messy first draft actually is in terms of screenwriting. I was inspired by the short film that I'm working on, and that I read through last draft, and then it occurred to me that this is what I always done in order to push the story forward, which is get the messy first draft on paper, even when I don't have a complete story. So I think I'm going to share this process and why I think it's important with you. And as usual, the timestamp will be in the description, so if you want to skip any part, please go ahead, feel free to jump around. I was like most of the people who are starting out writing career, that when I start writing, I have enormous fear grow out of a blank page. I have no idea what to do when I face a blank page, because there's always a sense of that the story is not complete yet. I don't know what will happen next. I don't know how the story is going to end yet. It's just a sense of that I'm not feeling ready. And even today, I still carry this sense, this feeling every single time when I face a blank page, even for second draft, third draft. But now I know that I don't really need to listen to this I'm not ready feeling, or you can almost say this I'm not ready feeling is a signal that you need to actually write something down, so you have something tangible to look at in order to feel more ready. As some of you might know, my bachelor background is engineering, and then so I was thinking maybe I can use math as an example. If you can recall your middle school, high school, even college years when you're taking math class, what's the one thing you definitely will do when you're trying to solve a problem? When I was in middle school, high school, I remember the school always gave us a stack of free scrapbook. It's those really cheap thin paper. They stack together and then they give it to us for use for physics and math class. It's because every single time when something occurs and we have to solve some problem, we need to write the whole process down. And a lot of writing on the scrapbook is wrong, and it's supposed to be a book that you use to write down things that mean to be a thinking process. It meant to be wrong. And that make me thinking about, for science, people know that we need to process this information, this thinking process, by writing it down to kind of have a space to hold our thoughts in a more tangible way, so we can refer back to them. And it's a way of organizing thoughts so we can find the right path to the answer. If scientists know writing down all the wrong process, it's the way to discover the right process. Why artists doesn't do the same thing? I think there's a myth in the society that people think approach to a scientific solution is a process. It's a trial and error. But making art is a spark of inspiration. And I think that's kind of messed up. Making art is not depending on the inspiration spark. It's depending on the way we organize our thinking process. It's the same thing as solving a math problem. We write down all the stuff that's in our mind, we organize them and then find out the pattern and then the truth. That's when we know how to rearrange them in a way that you can share with audience, and for them it's comprehensible, they can engage, relate to the story. And then this whole process, it's just like solving a math problem, but it's in a way it's much more fun because there is a lot of self-discovery and emotion involved in the process. I'm going to share with you why I think the messy first draft is the friendly, useful tool that we can use at least in my own creative process, and how it can actually help us to move forward. First of all, we have to write down things so we don't forget about them. The whole first draft is supposed to be a space for us to dump everything in our mind about this project onto a paper. It's not something supposed to be beautiful. It could be have little details, little moments that's really spark some inspiration for you, but majority part is supposed to be messy. And I don't remember who said that. I believe it's David Allen. Somebody have said that our brain is supposed to use for creating ideas. It's not for retaining information. I think that's so true. How many times you have this kind of experience that you have ideas, there's a scene popping in your mind, there's a theme or there's an image popping in your mind, and then you didn't get a chance to write it down, and then you completely forgot about it. I have probably hundreds of ideas or thoughts like that, and it never gets done. I think one thing that's very interesting is the parts I like the most in my film are the parts that I actually wrote in my phone. There was a narrative in my film. I remember I wrote that on the subway on the way to a concert, and it just suddenly came to me, and I had to type into my notes and then later get back to home and then translate that into my screenplay. I think get things on the paper is a way to help us retain all the thoughts that I already have, and also when it's on the paper, it's much more tangible for you to go back to review every single detail, to reprocess some of the thoughts after you already think more than the point that you wrote it down, if I'm making sense. I think the whole inspiration spark moment only will come when consciously or subconsciously we have been entertaining an idea, we have been revisiting a sequence over and over for so many times, and all of a sudden it came to us. So I think write it down is a great way to help us to remember our thoughts and organize them. The second reason I think the messy first draft is very useful is that I can get to know my characters much better. For me at least, I feel the best part about writing a story is, for some reason, every single time without fail, at one point of the writing process, the characters start speak for themselves. The characters start to develop the story for me, and I feel I was at a point that kind of laying back to see what's happening, and then that process making me feel I know my character much better, and then that helps me to go back later on and then to restructure the entire story to fit the character even better. And then the third reason I think is story possibility. No matter how I planned my story, it never went the way I want completely. Of course, there will be certain parts that exactly go in the direction that I plan out for, but almost always the ending part come out in a way surprises me. I have to give the credit to the first draft, to that contribution, because I feel a lot of the time it's the first draft leading me to a direction, and then it's possible the second draft guide me to a different direction. But I always have open-minded and want to see how much possibilities that the story can give it to me, and then that is not going to happen unless I have something written on paper, give the story a process, and let it to guide me to the end. If I only have here and there pieces of a story in my mind, it will never come alive in that way, if I'm making sense. Yeah, maybe I can know where my story heading by having an outline, but every single time when I had an outline, the story, when it take off on its own, especially when the character take off on its own, it always going slightly or even completely different direction. And then that's the beauty of feeling almost the story is written for itself. I'm just the medium. The universe is writing the story, not me. And then that's a good moment because I feel I kind of detached from the story. I don't take it that personal and more engaged with the process. So keep open-minded for your first draft. I think that's quite important. The fourth reason of messy first draft is so useful is that draft help me to get to know myself. A lot of the time we put ourselves into the character so much, we think the character is ourselves. It's really hard to have enough self-conscious to see ourselves clearly. So not just from my own screenplay, but when I read other people's earlier draft, we always have similar problem that we kind of trying to embody ourselves to the leading character, but the leading character come out very passive, almost this very nice person, and everybody around that character is doing something bad towards them. We seem to having a hard time to see our own flaw. And I think the process of writing first draft and then let it be whatever messy it's supposed to be is to almost like a journal process of to discover ourselves. Since I have this kind of character, I have this story thing, how am I fitting into the story? What's this thing means to me? What's my flaw contribute to this conflict? And I always carry those thoughts into writing the story. So at one point I will have a breakthrough and feel so bad about myself and see my flaw. And then later draft, you can develop the character in a way that embody this flaw. And then somehow the character will be more likable. I think that's one of the reasons I feel that you have to write it down out there. It's just like you have to journal in order to know yourself better, to build more self-awareness. You have to write the story down in order to discover yourself and then go back to make the story better. I don't know if those reasons resonate with you, but that's why I always very enjoy writing my first draft. It almost feel it's like this is scary, I don't know where I'm going process. But at the same time, I always get surprised about all kinds of things that come to me, no matter it's the character, the story, or an inspirational strike. I feel all of those good stuff are come out from a messy first draft. So this will be the question that people always saying that we need to have the outline, we need to have our log line, because log line says everything about the conflict, about the theme, about the antagonist, and about how the story ends. So you have to have the log line in order to write the story. And I find that always became a reason for me to procrastinate on my first draft. So I start practice in a way that when I have a rough idea, a rough log line that I know what my story is about, that's my signal to write everything out on paper. And then after I have that, that's when I go back to rethinking about my story structure and outlines and logline, all that stuff again, based on what I already have. and then that will inspire me to have much more deeper thoughts about the story, and I can answer a lot of questions about my story structure in a much easier way. Sorry about this video, have so many noise in the background. I really coffee. I truly hope today's video is helpful. Anyway, thank you for joining me in today's coffee chat. I'm so happy to have this cup of coffee with you. It's already past 3 o'clock. I'm not supposed to drink coffee after 3, but whatever. And yeah, I'm really grateful for you and me here enjoying this cup of coffee together. And thank you so much for being here with me, to keep me motivated and inspired. I really appreciate you, and then I hope you have a wonderful week, creative week, and be patient, be present, stay creative. I'll see you next week. Bye.